What's up, passionate Pokemon players? I'm Ryan, and we're here for another episode of the Hawks Pokemon Nest. Today, we've got another one of our exciting decks with an old school Pokemon in it. This time, we have Porygon, also teamed up with Revavroom. So, Porygon Z and Revaroom. So, we will go over each card in the deck, why I included it. Then, we'll go over the strategy of how to play it, and the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. And finally, we'll go over a couple of the other cards to consider swapping in and out of the deck. So, let's get into it. Let's start off with Porygon Z, which is basically who our attacker of the deck is. The whole deck revolves pretty much around Porygon Z. Its ability here is Buggy Turbo. So once during your turn, you may flip a coin. If heads, attach up to 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile to this Pokemon. If tails, you have to discard an energy from the Pokemon. So another one of these gambly, casino-y type decks. And then its attack basically goes around with that, right? Which is energized attack, very unique name, right? Energy attack 40x. It does 40 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon, right? So not bad. If you're able to get those 4 energies attached, then you can do 160 damage. In an ideal situation, what you're actually going to do is use Buggy Turbo. That way, if you fail, you don't need to attach an energy. You don't lose an energy. You can still use it even if 0 energy are attached. That way, you don't lose one. What I usually find myself doing is I'll just have whatever one's in the active spot using Buggy Turbo. If I hit heads on it, then I'll attach the 4, and then I'll attach an energy per hand so that I'll have 5. Or if it's not really going to make a difference, I may not even attach another one, and then I'm going to have one on my bench where I'm just slowly loading up as kind of a backup. Kind of makes it easier for you. So we'll see that one in action when I play. So we see the deck list of the Pokemon in general is 3 Varooms, 3 Revarooms, 2 Porygon 2, 4 Porygon, and 4 Porygon Z. So let's start from the beginning here of what we've got. So we've got 3 Varoom. I like this particular one from Obsidian Flames because it does have spitting draw. So if it does get caught in the active, then we're able to attach an energy and draw a card. Right now, here's our draw engine, which is a literal engine. One of the funniest Pokemon out there, in my opinion. So we have Revavroom. This is the one from which one is this one from? I think the base set. Yeah, the base set of Scarlet and Violet. Sorry. It's a rumbling engine. You must discard an energy from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw cards, so you have 6 in hand. So pretty good engine there. It does have knockaway 90 plus. I've never even thought of using that one. You shouldn't. You should not try to attach 4 energies to Revavroom because we need all of them for our Porygons, right? Porygon, I went with this one to data displacement. Flip a coin if heads move an energy from your opponent's active to one of their bench Pokemon. This one really helps us stall out a little bit if they're starting to load somebody up to knock out a Porygon. You know, you can attach one of their energies to their bench Pokemon, like probably using one of their draw engines or something. Like maybe if they're playing Xatu or something, you just attach an energy to that, and then you can stall out a little bit. Porygon 2, solid one there. I mean, I don't think there's too many choices. It doesn't matter which one you choose. I just went with this one, 90 HP. Powered Ball, discard an energy from this Pokemon, does 50 damage. Rarely use that one, but it's not a terrible move to use. And then, of course, we already talked about Porygon Z. So let's go over some of the trainers. Buddy-Buddy Poffin is the first trainer that I'll go through. We've got 3 of them. Of course, all of our Pokemon here have 70 HP or less as the basics. So that's a really good one. The reason I didn't go with 4 is because you'll see later on the list, which you can see off on the left side of the screen. I have 3 Artazon in there, so we don't necessarily need all 4. And it leaves us room for another Artazon, right? Earthen Vessel, I went with 4 Earthen Vessels. A real big focus of this deck is not just getting energy in hand to use the rumbling engine, but also getting energy in the discard, because it really is just a better way of loading up our Porygon. So we also want to use those Earthen Vessels to get energy in hand, but also even to discard energies, multiple energies, even though we're using the rumbling engine every turn, right? Max Rod. Max Rod is the ace spec I went with. The reason is we do get a ton of energy in our discard, and also the fact that we are, you know, when our Porygon Z dies, or I'm sorry, when it gets knocked out, then you know, it's going to cost us 2 Night Stretcher, which we also have to grab them back. We only have 4 total Night Stretchers, so I think Max Rod is kind of a good one for an emergency situation, just to grab them all back. I don't really see any ace spec being necessary here, so I like the Max Rod. Night Stretchers, I just mentioned. We're going to get 4 Night Stretchers in there. Just gives us the ability to quickly get our Porygon Z back and or Porygons. Rare Candy, we go with 4 Rare Candy. We really want to get those and use them on our Porygons in order to get them into Porygon Z. Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball, my favorite card. Alright, this time I have 4 Ultra Balls, which is a little one over my usual 3. Again, because this deck does focus so much on getting cards in the discard pile, I think it works well. And additionally too, it's not just about discarding energy, but discarding really anything that we don't need to get us down to a lower hand so that we can just keep cycling through this deck. This is another deck that we can get down to really low cards in hand really quickly, which in my opinion is a good thing. You know what they say, thinning is winning, because then when we're getting Ionoed or things like that, we don't have to worry as much. We can hopefully draw what we need right back out there. Right, Artazon then, I've got 3 Artazons. You know, we really want to swarm with this deck with our Porygon, so just really helps us get those out there, as well as making sure we also get a Varoom and Revavroom on our bench. Boss's Orders. I'm going with 3 Boss's Orders here, usual in there. Alright, and then Carmine. Now this is the one that maybe has the most wiggle room if we wanted to switch out a card. I like it though. I do like, especially if I can get that in the first turn. Getting Carmine, if you go first, you can use that, and then you discard your hand and draw 5 cards. I used to have Professor's Research, but I did like being able to use Carmine turn 1. You know, it's not super necessary to draw 7 because, you know, we are getting that Revavroom, so it's okay. So I'm going with that. I've got 3 Carmine in the deck. Kieran, this is basically used, as it's intended, right? Switching one of your active with your bench. That one really helps me if my opponent decides and gets privy to the fact that maybe I don't have any more energies in hand. Especially late game, a lot of times I do get to the point where I don't have any more energy in hand or deck. They're all in my discard pile. So they might want to decide, he's under 10. Under 10 in his deck, no energies in hand. Let's just go ahead and put a Revavroom out there and just trap him and let him deck out. Kieran is going to help me not do that because I can switch one for my active. The other part is the ideal situation of using Kieran is obviously the second one. During this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So that's really good. That one helps me a lot of times. I've had many times where this helps me knock out those basic EX Pokemon. When my Porygon Z, it has 5 energy attached because I hit on its Buggy Turbo, I believe. I already forgot what it's called. Because I hit on the Buggy Turbo, I attached an energy to get to 200. Kieran can help me get to 230. And then energy in there, not pictured on screen, but I do have 12. I went with 12 of the steel energies. In terms of strategy, strengths, and weaknesses of the deck, the strategy is really swarm and evolve. Swarm our bench with Porygon, and honestly, like, don't even feel bad about getting 2 Revarooms on bench to where we can use 1. We can attach, discard, all of that good stuff, and then use it again. So I don't mind. I think it's fine to get 2 Revarooms on bench. Just also know, you know, you're probably not going to want to discard your Kierans if possible so that you can make those switches, but it does really help you even more so to cycle through the deck and just get a bench full of Porygon Zs, right? Don't stop at 1 and then just be using these Buggy Turbos like one after the other, as long as you have enough in enough energies in discard, right? Okay, and then getting your energy into discard. Obviously, that's the next step there because in an ideal world, we're just using Buggy Turbo to get our energies. And what I usually do is if I've got like 2 or 3 of my Porygon Zs, then I'm going to have one where I'm like, okay, this one is not going to use Buggy Turbo. I'm going to attach my energies to that one per turn. And then my other 2 or even 3 are the ones that I'm going to try to go gambling with in the casino with Buggy Turbo and hope that I'm going to hit with that, right? Strengths, this is a single prize deck, which really is necessary when you're using a lot of these kind of gambly cards, so that, you know, when you're not hitting, they're only taking 1 prize card, and eventually the goal is for you to hit enough more times than they are knocking you out, which is going to take 6 knockouts, right? It also has tons of draw power, and it's not very difficult at all to get your Revarooms out there. And a draw until you have 6 in hand is really good, especially in a deck that makes it really easy to discard cards, right? And with that, you're usually able to set up pretty quick, which is another thing that's really necessary in a single prize deck with Pokemon that don't hit extremely hard. You know, the idea is that as long as you can take that first prize card, and ideally the first 2 prizes before your Porygon Z gets knocked out, you're ahead of the game, you're ahead of the hourglass, and now it's going to take them 2 turns for 2 prizes, where even if you're taking 2 turns for 2 prizes, you're still ahead of the game, right? So very quick setup. The weaknesses, though, it does rely a ton on luck. Buggy Turbo, sometimes you're going to go multiple turns without hitting on it, and then sometimes you're going to go multiple turns with hitting on it. So it's obviously a very lucky deck. Very squishy deck as well. Our Porygon Z just has 150 HP, which even as a stage 2, you know, 160 or 70 is a lot better because there's not a lot that hits for less than that. But, you know, it's fine. It works out. So very squishy, and then you can deck yourself out if you're not careful. Really make sure that you know where your energy is at all times, because you can deck out, you can, you know, not have enough Porygon Zs, you can get a Revavroom stuck inactive. So those are the really things to focus on and making sure that you're not doing. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Hawks Pokemon Nest. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're excited for later in the week when we drop the video of us going at it in TCG Live and really seeing what this deck's about. It's another one of those fun decks of mine that, you know, gets more wins than you think. You know, gets more wins than you think. So let's get on that. So if you liked what you saw, though, please hit that subscribe button so you can become part of the Hawks Nest. We are a fabulous flock of fearless folks who love to do what we love. I love making these decks for you all. I hope that you enjoy watching. I'm excited to continue doing this for quite some time. And if you're not quite ready to fly yet, though, that's okay. Just hit that like button. We'll show up in an algorithm near you in the near future. But until then, we'll see you next time.